Hey guys, what's going on? Jeff here from Films at Home, back with another 4K review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the recently released movie Blade on 4K. This just came out from Warner Brothers just about a week ago. So I'm just getting to this one now. So we're going to talk about the visuals, the audio, and packaging and special features here, and how it compares to the Blu-ray and whether it's worth upgrading. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing, turn your notifications on for all these 4K review videos, home theater topics, and much more. I'd really appreciate that. And with that being said, let's jump right into it. So Blade, Wesley Snipes, vampire hunter killer, 1998. One of the first Marvel movies, actually. Funny enough, Blade is actually a Marvel character. This is one of the first movies, although it's not branded that way at all. But this is Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema. So this movie was shot in 1998 on 35mm. It has a 35mm negative, and the new 4K master was done here in 2020 for this 4K Blu-ray release. Now, I didn't actually have this Blu-ray in my collection, so what I had to do was go back online and look at some of the Blu-ray screenshots, and I put them up on my 4K TV so I could kind of get a close comparison of how those screenshots looked versus how this is actually going to look on the same monitor. I didn't want to look at them on a computer, so I loaded them onto my TV and looked at them that way. And you can definitely tell that there was a lot of DNR, digital noise reduction, done on this release. The original Blu-ray release had some really nice grain structure that was, it definitely gave it a very film-like feel. You could definitely see the 35mm there. And I think it kind of added to the image and added to the experience because it's kind of this gritty movie, and I liked the graininess of it. I thought that added to everything. And on this release, you can see it is pretty soft in a lot of areas. Some of that grain has been scrubbed. If you look really closely, you can still make out some of the structure, and that's usually because the 4K resolution helps. But if you look closely, you can see the grain structure, and then you'll look at somebody's face and you won't be able to see the same. So like, they definitely smoothed some things out. They definitely rounded some edges, made things a bit softer overall. And so I personally, you know, when it comes to DNR in noise reduction and smoothing pictures out, a lot of people have different opinions. Personally, I'm somewhere in the middle. I know that this was done to a point on Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, but I actually liked what they did on those movies because it helped blend the CGI better, and I think it helped the overall picture look better. But if you did this to a movie like a Vertigo or a Jaws or something that has that really iconic film feel, I would be kind of turned off by that. There's a balance to it, and in my opinion, they went a little too far on Blade. They made it too soft. They took away most of the original film feel, and you're left with a very digital, clean-looking image. So if that's what you're looking for, great, but this isn't the best representation of the way that this film was originally shown, and the Blu-ray is a much better representation of that. Now, the HDR in this release is a nice boost. There are a lot of darker scenes, and there are a lot of colors, especially at the beginning of the movie. If you think about all that blood, that really pops in HDR, and so the 4K gives you benefit there. The black just on Wesley Snipes, on Blade's outfit, the black leather, everything pops a bit more. Black levels are much better, and there's overall a little bit more clarity in the darker sequences with this release. So like, that part of it is nice, and some of that is due to the fact that they kind of smoothed things out, and the grain isn't there as much in darker scenes. It doesn't stand out as much, so it's easier to see what's going on. And so it really, on the visuals for this, it all comes back to like, do you want the original feel? Do you want this to feel more like a 35mm? Do you want it to feel like it did in the theaters in 1998? Or do you not mind this updated look and feel for 4K Blu-ray? Depending on how you feel about those things, that's how you're going to feel about this transfer, which leaves me somewhere in the middle. I wouldn't grade this as one of the better Warner Brothers transfers that's comes out lately. I would say it's like a 3.5 out of 5 on the visuals. Now, the audio you get here is a Dolby Atmos track, and that is pretty impressive. That's a nice upgrade. You did not get that on the Blu-ray, and I really enjoyed it. There's tons of sequences in this movie which obviously can make full use of an Atmos track, and you certainly get that full Atmos experience. Warner has done a good job with that audio transfer. It's a very nice, solid mix. It doesn't lose any elements. It gains a lot of surround effects and height effects. Dialogue is still very clear, and the low frequency on this is pretty nice. I will say that it gets a lot of bass action. So if you have a good subwoofer, I think you'll feel that. So a really nice Atmos mix. So there's, you know, I'd give that a 4.5 out of 5. It's not an incredible, not the best Atmos I've ever heard, but it's a really good one. So, you know, from audio and visuals, this is sitting somewhere like as a 3.5 or a 4 out of 5. I'm probably leaning more towards like a 3.75 because I personally don't love the visuals on it. I think some people may rate it higher. It all depends on your personal preferences. And of course, this is just my opinion, but that's what I was seeing and hearing with this release. Now, the packaging here is pretty standard. You're gonna get a slipcover. It comes with a digital copy. Same artwork on the inside as with the slipcover. And then on the inside, you'll find your digital copy and also just two pretty plain Blu-ray and 4K discs. So nothing really crazy here in terms of the packaging, pretty standard stuff. Slipcover, typical 2-disc package, 4K and Blu-ray, digital copy. Nothing really to write home about, but at least you get a slipcover. And then for special features, the only thing on the 4K disc is the audio commentary from cast and crew, and then the Blu-ray has all the special features from the previous Blu-ray. So overall, there isn't a whole lot in the package and the special features. You're not gaining much. Getting the commentary, at least on the 4K disc, is nice if you want to watch the movie in 4K. You can at least experience that as well. But nothing really else here that you know, stands out. It is just a pretty standard slipcover release with a couple discs. And overall, you know, would this one be worth an upgrade? I think that for me personally, because I didn't have this in my collection, it makes a lot of sense for me to go and get the 4K because I always want to have the best experience. And although this is not the most traditional experience, this is probably the best the movie's ever looked. That tends to happen a lot on 4K, but that's not everything. That's not all that it's about. So if you're a real purist, you may want to skip this 4K. Just stick with your Blu-ray, and I think you'll probably have that more pure, faithful to the source experience than you're getting on the 4K disc. So it's going to be a tough upgrade, a tough sell for some people. Like I said, this one's going to come down to personal opinion on digital noise reduction, on smoothing out of images, on the way you feel about grain. All that's going to factor into whether you upgrade or not. So I can't really give a recommendation one way or not. If you like the grain, don't go with the 4K. Stick with your Blu-ray, you'll be fine. But if you don't care so much about the grain structure, you want a smooth digital looking image, you don't care about the traditional source, you want it to look really nice on your 4K TV, which it does, it's just not, it just doesn't look the same, and you want that Atmos track, then you probably have good reason to upgrade to the 4K. So it just depends, like I said, on what type of person you are. So I'll leave a link to this down in the description. Thank you to Warner Brothers for sending this over for review. I'm also going to be checking out a couple new movies that were just released. Total Recall will be coming in just a few short days. And I have Tenet as well from Warner Brothers. That is going to be a really incredible 4K disc to check out. But Warner Brothers does have a review embargo on that one, which I don't run into very often, but I won't be able to post my thoughts on that until Friday of this week, December 12th. So stay tuned for that video. It'll be coming on Friday, but I do have it. I'll be checking it out here in the next few days and giving you that review. So make sure you're subscribed, you're up to date on all that stuff, and stay tuned for all those videos. Blade, link to buy will be down in the description. Like I said, depends on what experience you want. Could go either way. Personally, I probably would have stuck with the Blu-ray if I already owned it, but I'll go with the 4K without owning it. It makes sense. But yeah, overall, decent release from Warner Brothers. Not one of their better ones. Not one of my favorites, but a good effort. So appreciate everybody watching this review. Thanks again for coming by the channel. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you guys soon.